Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. Long before those words became a working-class battle cry, they reflected the life of the man who sang them. In February 2003, Johnny Paycheck lay dying in a Nashville hospital, his lungs failing but his mind still sharp. At 64 years old, he called his brother to his bedside and spoke 7 words that would haunt his family forever. He said he needed to tell the real reason for everything. What followed was a recorded confession, a final attempt to explain the violence, addiction, prison time and chaos that had defined his life. For decades he had been running from something, and now at the end he wanted the truth preserved. Johnny Paycheck was born Donald Eugene Lytle in Greenfield, Ohio, though even the year of his birth remains disputed, with some sources listing 1937 and others 1938. He grew up in a working-class environment where struggle was normal and security was rare. From an early age, uncertainty surrounded him, and that sense of instability never left. Music became his escape. At 9 years old, he was already performing in local talent shows, gripping a guitar his mother gave him when he was 6. His confidence startled adults, and his voice carried a raw edge that felt far beyond his years. Performing came as naturally to him as breathing. By his teens, he had logged more stage time than many professional musicians. That fire pushed him away from home at 15, hopping freight trains and drifting from town to town, earning the nickname the Ohio Kid. He played in rough honky-tonks, slept wherever he could, and learned the hard lessons of survival early. Those years forged the outlaw persona that would define him. When he joined the Navy in the 1950s, some hoped discipline might tame him. Instead, his temper exploded. In 1956, after a violent confrontation with a superior officer, he was court-martialed and sentenced to 2 years in the brig. The experience hardened him further and left him deeply distrustful of authority. After his release, he headed straight to Nashville instead of returning home. With nothing but his guitar and stubborn belief in himself, he walked into a city crowded with talent and competition. Under the name Donnie Young, he signed with Decca Records in the late 1950s and released a handful of singles that failed to break through. Still, he stayed afloat as a sideman, working with artists like Porter Wagoner, Ray Price and Farron Young. He absorbed everything, watching how great performers worked a crowd and endured the pressure. In 1962, his career shifted when he joined George Jones's band. For 4 intense years he sang harmony, played bass and helped shape the sound behind some of Jones's most famous recordings. Industry insiders believed Paycheck's phrasing influenced Jones and later inspired Merle Haggard. Though largely uncredited, his fingerprints were everywhere. In 1966, he proved himself as a songwriter when Tammy Wynette recorded Apartment No. 9, a song soaked in loneliness that introduced her to the world and revealed Paycheck's gift for heartbreak. Around that time, he reinvented himself as Johnny Paycheck, taking the name from a prizefighter known for refusing to stay down. With producer Aubrey Mayhew, he signed to Chart Records and later co-founded Little Darlin' Records, where he was finally free to embrace grit over polish. The music he recorded there was dark, raw and shocking, tackling murder, infidelity and moral collapse. Songs were banned from radio, but they built a devoted underground following that saw Paycheck as brutally honest. By the end of the 1960s, Little Darlin' folded, and Paycheck's world collapsed quietly. He drifted to California, sinking into drugs and alcohol, playing grim bar gigs, sleeping on floors and disappearing from studios. His reputation turned toxic. Violence followed him, legal troubles mounted, and the IRS seized what little money he had. By the mid-1970s, his name became a warning rather than a promise. Then, against all odds, Epic Records producer Billy Sherrill took a chance on him, demanding sobriety long enough to record. The gamble paid off. She's All I Got soared to number 2 in 1971, followed by a string of hits that lasted over a decade. From 1970 to 1981, every single he released charted. In 1977, Take This Job and Shove It hit number 1 and became an anthem for fed-up workers nationwide. Fame returned, but the chaos never left. Despite success, Paycheck drank heavily, abused pills and lashed out violently. In 1981, he was removed from a Frontier Airlines flight after assaulting a flight attendant. Worse followed when he was arrested on serious charges involving a minor. Though reduced to a misdemeanor plea, The scandal permanently damaged his career. Epic dropped him and his time at the top ended. In 1985, a confrontation in an Ohio bar ended with Paycheck firing a gun at a man over a joke. He was convicted of aggravated assault and sentenced to nearly 10 years. While fighting appeals, he released Old Violin, a haunting song about feeling finished. The irony was painful. When appeals failed, he entered prison in 1989. That same year, Merle Haggard joined him for a legendary concert behind bars. Before prison, Paycheck had embraced Christianity and sobriety. After his release in 1991, he spoke openly about addiction and prison, visiting schools and communities to warn others. His career continued modestly through club shows and Branson residencies. In 1997, he was finally inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, a full-circle moment of redemption. Years of abuse caught up with him. Severe emphysema and asthma ended his performing life. His final recording was a spoken-word farewell done from a hospital bed. In February 2003, Johnny Paycheck died of respiratory failure. His life was brutal, messy, and unforgettable. In the end, his body failed, but his voice, filled with pain and truth, never did.